Hello students, today we will be discussing the topic cult, charisma and personality as determinants of voting behavior in India. The objective for today's discussion is to give you an understanding of the influence of charisma in shaping voting behavior, to give you an understanding of how leadership images build electoral politics, and finally, whether personality cult and hero worshipping influences electoral decision making. But before we move on to cult and leadership images, let us understand what is voting behavior, what are the factors that influence voting behavior, and how cult and charisma play an important role in determining electoral behavior. Students, we already know that elections are the cornerstone of representative democracy. In elections, voters vote out or vote in a political party. In fact, it is a means of expressing approval or disapproval for a particular party and candidates. The study of voting behavior constitutes an important aspect of contemporary research on democracies. Voting behavior is just not confined to examining statistics, records and computation of electoral shifts and swings. It also involves an analysis of individuals' psychological processes, that is perception, emotions and motivation, and their relationship to political action, as well as of institutional patterns such as the communication process of the candidates and their impact on elections. Man, though a rational creature, sometimes behaves irrationally and in an emotional manner for which you cannot find a particular reason. And when it comes to expressing voting behavior, it is shaped by a number of factors such as caste, class, religion, language, gender, personality cult, charisma, which shape and influence how people vote. Several social factors may be involved in India that influences voting behavior of Indian voters. Among these social factors, some social factors influence the psychosocial makeup of the voters, who decide on the basis of an habitual choice whom to cast their vote for. One of those important social factors is charisma cult, which denotes an exceptional quality of a leader to influence the voting pattern. Charisma may involve attractive leaders revered and respected by voters who can just turn the tide in elections. In a country where voters are hero worshipped, charisma and personality cult plays a significant role in determining electoral behavior. Voters are highly motivated by the personality of their leaders and follow them and vote for them. India has witnessed the rise of several strong and charismatic leaders both in pre- and post-independence period. Since the beginning of elections as a method of choosing representatives to the Lok Sabha and Vidhan Sabha, political parties have carefully selected candidates with a mass appeal. Leaders like Jawaharlal Nehru, Indira Gandhi, Rajiv Gandhi, Atal Bihari Vajpayee, Jayalalitha, Bal Thackeray, Jyoti Basu are still remembered today for their magnanimous personality and leadership qualities. Now, what is leadership and how does it influence voting behavior? Leadership can be defined as a relationship between an individual and a group built around some common interest wherein the group behaves in a manner determined or directed by the leader. The charismatic leader is perhaps the most exciting, as his or her leadership abilities are often attributed to a strong character, feats of great strength and heroism or divine guidance. Charismatic leaders are often thought as heroes that are able to use their personal culture to lead others. Although the term charisma has prehistoric origins, charisma appeared for the first time in ancient Greece, meaning divine favor. The first scholar to talk of charismatic leadership was Max Weber. Charisma is a quality that enables one man to exercise surpassing magnetism and to gather a tremendous following. It is non-rational, non-traditional and non-bureaucratic. Weber argues that in an organizational system there are three types of authorities to which people will submit: traditional, legal rational and charismatic. Weber defines charismatic authority as resting on devotion to the exceptional sanctity, heroism or exemplary character of an individual person and of the normative patterns or order revealed or ordained by him. So, charismatic leadership is a person with a special quality of leading or having a mass following. Presently, post-Weberian researchers have considered various socio-political leaders to have a charisma. Mahatma Gandhi had a charisma of his own. Even dictator like Hitler had a charismatic personality to lead an entire nation behind him. There were leaders with exceptional qualities and godlike qualities. Followers would blindly follow such leaders. The charm of such leaders make their followers follow them blindly without questioning their authority. While analyzing such a strong bond between a leader and their followers, Weber focuses on the social patterns and conditions under which such leadership exists. What makes charismatic leaders winners is the fact that they differ from the normal leaders by virtue of great self-confidence, energy, enthusiasm and unconventional behavior. Charismatic leaders convey values, an example for followers to imitate through their actions. India is witness to the rise of a number of charismatic leaders who owe their mass appeal to different settings. Elections in India are fought around leaders who become the face of the party, and this is well accepted. The charisma of Jawaharlal Nehru or Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel was cultivated in the independence movement, and particularly for Nehru within a largely secular modernistic value set. While if you remember Jayaprakash Narayan and more recently Arvind Kejriwal, who developed their respective appeal in social movements and activism against corruption in social life. On the other hand, the charisma of Indira Gandhi and Rajiv Gandhi emanated due to political dynasty, as they inherited the proud legacy of Jawaharlal Nehru and sought to further its reach. But that does not mean that they were automatically accepted as charismatic leaders. Indira Gandhi, for example, was not accepted as a charismatic leader initially. Ironically, Indira Gandhi was ridiculed as a gungi guriya, a dumb doll, when she was chosen as the Congress prime ministerial candidate in 1966. But in about 5 years, particularly after her daring fight with the old guard within the party, known as the Syndicate, and her landslide victory in the 1971 through her Garibi Hatao campaign, she became to be described as a woman of courage and charisma. She became the Iron Lady of India. The iconic status attained by Mayawati in Uttar Pradesh is due to her Dalit caste identity assertion, while C.N. Annadurai was worshipped in Tamil Nadu for his Dravidian pride and cultural politics. Different leaders owe their charisma to different factors. The charismatic leadership qualities of Narendra Modi may well be partly Gandhian, given his Gujarati roots, but were above all largely nurtured through dedicated work as a skillful leader at state level. The self-made credentials of Modi and his humble background created on this account an instant connect with the aspirational citizens of India, making him one of the most compelling political and indeed charismatic leader in India. At the same time, Modi's Hindutva leanings also make him appear as a charismatic leader in the perspective of many other Indians. Now, today we are witnessing a Modi wave. The way political parties present the messages to voters through their leaders is an important element of electoral politics, and we cannot undermine that. The political astuteness of Narendra Modi, from his strong oratorial skills, his first-person narrative and robust presentation of facts. Modi's political connect combined with Hindutva rhetoric disseminate the principal political parties opposed to the BJP in many state electoral competitions, most notably in Uttar Pradesh in 2017, asserting the dominance of saffron ideology in contemporary Indian politics. If you look into Modi's conversations, his animated conversations with the electorate, when he highlighted the negative track record of the Congress and of regional parties in state elections, which included allegations of corruptions, dynastic politics, minority appeasement, he as if put forth an alternative style of politics before the electorate which attracted the voters to him. There appears to be a consolidation of Hindu votes in favor of the BJP, with supporters of other parties shifting their loyalties to become votaries of Modi in national elections, but this is not the case in state level politics. The Modi wave, which had reached its pinnacle in 2014 general elections, seemed to have lost its winning intensity when the BJP suffered severe loss in 2015 Bihar elections. This was followed by the defeat of the BJP in several other state assembly elections. But that does not mean Modi lost his charisma or leadership image. As a leader, people expect the leader to take important and strong decisions, and Narendra Modi has taken important decisions. For example, the demonetization in 2016 with the prominent agenda of ending black money. The surgical strike on terrorist camps in Pakistan provided opportunities to arrest the saffron decline and to demonstrate the leader's willingness to act decisively. In fact, this played a very important role in leading to the rise of what is called the Modi wave. The BJP won a decisive mandate in the state elections in Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand in 2017. But then the BJP failed to make inroads in Tamil Nadu, West Bengal, Punjab, raising red flags within the party. It is to be noted that given the trends in elections, voters do not vote along the same lines in national and state level elections. While at the national level, Modi has a charismatic image as an astute leader, but when it comes to state level politics, several regional leaders have swayed the masses through their charismatic leaders. Now, what do we call this wave, where we find a large number of regional political leaders having a mass appeal? Christophe Geffrelot and Sanjay Kumar have used the rise of the plebeians in Indian politics to summarize the considerable changes taking place at the regional level, where we find the rise of non-dynastic political leaders with a mass appeal. Say Mamata Banerjee in West Bengal, Mayawati in Uttar Pradesh, Naveen Patnaik in Odisha, to name a few. Let us go a little back in history. In the 1990s, let us look into how Lalu Prasad Yadav came to lure the voters with a mass appeal. What was the magic? Lalu Prasad Yadav belonged to a numerically strong Yadav community, which over the past decade was the natural caste of politicians. The support the Yadavs gave him played a decisive role in making Lalu the chief minister of Bihar in 1990. Now, what was his magic? It is said that his rustic charisma, keen political wit, and a colorful politics of the spectacle is the magic behind Lalu's mass appeal. Another political leader, very popular among the masses, and even after her demise, she has not been forgotten, Jayalalitha, who is often referred as Virangana in South Indian politics. She is the synonym for AIADMK even today. She is a warrior queen with beauty, charm and command, and a loyal band of loyalists with her when she was at the helm of affairs. Mamata Banerjee has a different kind of a mass appeal. Her forthright style and jarring and unpolished language, she has been able to connect easily with the voters. She has never tried to live up to the stature of a polished politician, but has turned her lack of proper social and cultural capital to her own advantage, seeking to establish an alternative model of political leadership in which her simplicity and emotional connect with the masses play a dominant role. She seems to attract voters' attention not because of the quality of her ideology and political eloquence, but for her simplicity, passion and emotion. She portrays herself as the woman of the people. Popularly, she is known as Didi, with scant regard for power, comforts and intellectual pursuits. Her frugality sets her apart from the lavish and extravagant lifestyle enjoyed by certain politicians in other parts of India, including other mainstream women politicians. She has a different mass appeal which cannot be ignored or undermined. To her supporters, the willingness to stand firm in the place of political opposition, if you remember the Singur movement, reinforces the impression that she is a dedicated leader who will remain true to her conviction, whatever the personal cost. Mamata Banerjee is not the only female political leader who has cultivated a cultural and an activist image. Mayawati, during her earlier days of her political career, also had emerged as an energetic and dedicated Dalit activist. Uma Bharti is also well known for a loud and confrontational anti-Muslim rhetoric through which she seeks to mobilize Hindus to join the fight for endangered Hindu values and ways of life. She is known as the Sadhvi or the Sannyasin. A critical point to note is that female leaders may have their own charisma to attract voters, but there is a gendered aspect of leadership. Uma Bharti as Sannyasin, Jayalalitha as Virangana, Mamata Banerjee as Didi, Sonia Gandhi as the Bahu of the Nehru-Gandhi family. These feminization of leadership is a normal part of the Indian electoral rhetoric. Let us come to regional leadership. Among the prominent regional leaders that can come top of our mind are Mulayam Singh Yadav, Nitish Kumar, Naveen Patnaik, who have carved a place for themselves at state level politics. The decision to vote for a party or a candidate may actually be a vote for the top leader of that particular party. Most people understand democracy as an arrangement in which their basic needs are fulfilled through government programs and activities. Most people also think that their immediate problems as well as their psychological as well as social needs will be fulfilled by the political parties. Now, when you have a strong leader to represent that party, it becomes easier to connect the party with the people. Charisma and regional leaders is an important theme in Indian politics in contemporary scholarly writings. Admiration for a strong leader coupled with the aspiration to fulfill the basic needs of the people through parties and government might give rise to populist and charismatic leaders who exercise tremendous political power. Socioeconomic backwardness and dependency seem to be the breeding ground of authoritarian tendencies among leaders. Now, students, please do not confuse authoritarianism with charisma. As parties become leader-centered and power becomes personalistic, which in turn used for self-aggrandizement as well as accumulation of wealth, dynastic succession has become the rule in most political parties, and this is the case for national as well as regional political parties. Voters, party activists, leaders at various levels seem to have no objection to this dynastic style of party functioning. Now, why is it so? Please note, students, in politics, power is self-justifiable. It seeks no sanction, legal or ethical. The ability of power to transcend ideology, probity, morality, even legality makes it an attractive proposition for politicians. In a democracy such as ours, the key to understanding and gaining unadulterated power is often not through committed public service or for striving some greater common good for the people or even through administrative excellence. It is through the creation of a personality cult. People remember their leaders as important, long-lasting images who they are keen to follow. In our short history as an unified state, in charge of a long era of futuristic politics, since we broke free from the colonial shackles in 1947, Indian politics has been dominated by a cult of personalities, national as well as regional. Despite we being under the guidance of a liberal, sturdy, righteous constitution. Let us come to personality cult politics. From Indira Gandhi to Bal Thackeray, from Lalu Prasad Yadav to Mayawati, from Mamta Banerjee to Jayalalitha, mass leaders have frequently challenged accepted notions and contributed to electoral calculations. In fact, they have confounded and calculations by tapping into the grey area of people's mandate over judicial verdicts. The mass hysteria over Jayalalitha's demise, if you remember students, not to even remotely slight her considerable political charisma. Even after her death, she lives on. Criminal cases or misappropriation of assets cases against leaders do not undermine the personality cult of leaders. India is an amazing country. The ability of Jayalalitha to retain her appeal despite being convicted or jailed for corruption, the capability of Lalu Prasad Yadav to bounce back from imprisonment and political obscurity to return to power. What is this? A combination of charisma and policies instill in their followers a trust that remains unshakable come what may. But why is this craze for hero worshipping in India? In a country like India where a sizable chunk of the population is poor and another major chunk keeps slipping in and out of the poverty line, there will always be a space for garnering political support through a social security net. Why do we have leaders in the images of God? Coming back to Jayalalitha again and her Amma brand. Her Amma canteen, Amma mineral water for the urban poor, and launching of a laundry list of schemes. Amma seeds, Amma healthcare, free laptops, TV sets, rice, gas stoves, mixer grinders, cattle. These schemes were targeted toward the vulnerable section of the population who blindly worshipped Jayalalitha as their Amma. Notably, in a similar context, you can also find Mamta Banerjee Didi consolidating her support base through an expansive list of welfare measures. These include the very popular Konyashri scheme, which offers monthly scholarships to girl students, Shobut Shati, under which bicycles were delivered to students, monthly doles of 1,500 to 1 lakh employed youth in the state, and various other schemes and programs. In India, political leaders have a larger than life persona. If Indira is India and India is Indira, which reverberated the political scene in the 1970s, even in her demise, Jayalalitha remains AIADMK and the party in her reflection. Mamta is Trinamool Congress, while Mayawati is BSP. But this was cautioned by Ambedkar long back in 1950s. He said that hero worshipping or bhakti in politics is not the right way. I quote Ambedkar, not to lay down their liberties at the feet of even a great man, or to trust him with powers that enable him to subvert their institutions. Gratitude could never be at the expense of the honor of the country or the loss of liberty. Ambedkar further notes, bhakti in religion may be the road to salvation of the soul, but in politics, bhakti or hero worship is a sure road to degradation and to eventual dictatorship. What can we summarize from the foregoing discussion? Given the nature and trends of Indian politics, strong and charismatic leaders exercise extensive power in mainstream politics. The emergence of state-level parties as crucial factors in Indian elections has added momentum to this trend. Also, this can be attributed partly to people's desire to see a strong leader at the helm of affairs at the national and the state level. The cultivation of image-driven politics, where a party is identifiable only through their supreme leader, definitely goes against the basic tenets of democracy, but for the practitioners, it ensures undivided power through a direct connect with the masses. Instead of heading the state, the leaders epitomize themselves as the state. As long as the political structure reaps benefits, politics in India will be dominated by personality cults, charisma and leadership. Thank you.